They say reality is fixed, unchanging. It is what it is. But quantum physics hints at another truth, a truth that breaks our old sense of control. Reality isn't imposed on you. It unfolds through your act of observing it. Let me tell you about someone much like you. She was stuck. No matter how hard she tried to alter her life, nothing shifted. Same relationships, same earnings, same emotional loops. She kept a journal, visualized daily, even pleaded with the universe for a sign. But every morning the same reality greeted her like an unbroken loop she couldn't escape. Until one night, in the quiet between thoughts, she stopped forcing things. She simply watched, not from hope, not from fear, but from presence. And in that space, something began to loosen. Not her outer world, but her way of relating to it. She wasn't attempting to manifest anymore. She was merely observing in a new way. That instant, that's where everything pivots. Because what most people miss is this. Reality is not a fixed film playing before you. It's a quantum sea of possibilities, probabilities that solidify into form the moment you observe. Let's bring in the science. In the famed double-slit experiment, researchers found something almost mystical. When particles of light or matter passed through two slits, they behaved like waves, spreading and showing multiple possibilities. But when those same particles were watched, they stopped acting as waves and collapsed into particles, into matter, into form. Observation altered the outcome. Let that settle. The mere act of observing narrowed the wave of possibilities into a single measurable event. Now zoom out of the lab, zoom into your life. Every thought you have, every judgment you carry, every expectation you hold. These are acts of observation, and each time you observe with charged emotion, you condense a version of reality into you, or field. So when you regard your finances with dread, your body with shame, your partnerships with suspicion, you're not only perceiving reality, you're helping make it real. You're fixing a timeline that matches the frequency of your gaze. This isn't blame, it's empowerment, because if your attention helps shape reality, then shifting the quality of your attention expands what's available. Not because the cosmos favors you, but because your observation aligns with a different possibility that already exists. The field always offers options, but you only receive what you're open to perceive. And most people, they look through filters, old wounds, inherited narratives, cultural programming. They're not truly observing, they're projecting the same patterns again and again, which brings us to the most overlooked secret of manifestation. You're not here to invent from zero. You're here to notice with clarity, to observe from love, not lack, from expansion, not reactivity, from awareness, not presumption. The moment you stop reacting and begin witnessing, not from survival but from sovereignty, you access the true power of the observer effect. You collapse reality intentionally. This is what mystics and scientists have both been pointing to. Your inner state is not merely reflecting outer events. Your outer life mirrors your inner observer. Change the way you observe, and you change what you draw to you. Observe through the lens of peace and chaos starts to soften. Observe with compassion and old identities loosen. But this asks courage, because observing differently means releasing the need to be right about your limits. It means giving up the comfort of familiar pain. It means surrendering the story that life is simply happening to you and stepping into the responsibility of frequency. You don't attract what you wish, you attract what you consistently attend to with emotional certainty. So here's your first doorway. Start noticing what you notice, then ask, is this observation collapsing the reality I want or the one I fear? In the quantum field, the universe responds to your attention. If you've ever doubted the power of consciousness, you haven't yet grasped the observer effect. This is not a poetic metaphor. It's a foundational scientific insight with direct implications for every area of your life. Because once you see what occurs when a particle is observed, you can no longer pretend your attention is neutral. You begin to realize every time you look, you participate. Let's step back into everyday life. You wake up, check your phone, think about your balance, your relationship, your health. Maybe you feel tightness in your chest or that familiar knot. Those are not merely reactions, they are acts of observation. You are perceiving life through the emotional residue of the past, and like in the experiment, your observation condenses reality, not into novelty, but into the familiar. You're repeating the same patterns, the same frequencies, the same experiences, not because they're unavoidable, but because your observation is automatic. And here's the key. The observer effect applies to every thought, belief, and presumption you carry. Your observation carries a frequency. It emits a signal. The field, that intelligent, vibrating sea, answers with striking fidelity. If you watch life through scarcity, scarcity matches you. If you observe through distrust, the field mirrors situations that validate that distrust. You might call the result proof, but what if it's feedback? Not penalty, not destiny, simply coherence. Your observation is not a passive lens, it's a magnet. It pulls from the field the version of reality that fits your vibrational gaze. That means to change what appears, you don't chase new things. You observe from a different place. Beast pose. Because a version of you already abundant exists in potential until you start seeing it, not only mentally but emotionally and energetically with full presence. The moment you shift your gaze, that reality begins to condense into form. This is why healing isn't about fixing, it's about clearing the lens, removing the residue of trauma, inherited stories, and outgrown identities that tint your perception. Because when you stop observing from fear and start observing from awareness, a new timeline emerges. You don't need to be an expert in physics. You simply need to ask, what am I seeing? How am I seeing it? What is my energy doing to this moment? Because if everything changes when you look, then how you look matters more than you were told. We were taught to see reality as solid, as something out there, but in truth, reality is a living dialogue between you and the field, a choreography of energy and attention. The more conscious you are of what you're collapsing, the more influence you gain. You don't change the field, you change the frequency of your observation, and reality waits for that shift, not your exertion. Once that changes, nothing remains the same. It's easy to think nothing changes because the universe ignores you, but the deeper truth is, you keep collapsing the same timeline without awareness, not because you choose to, but because of how you observe. Most people live in a loop of inner repetition. Same feelings, same assumptions, same baseline frequency. They look through the lens of their past and wonder why the future looks identical. But in the quantum field, nothing repeats unless you reselect it. And you reselect it every time you view life through the same emotional filter. Here's how it looks. Suppose you've known abandonment. Somewhere someone left. Physically, emotionally, or spiritually. Your body carries that memory. Your nervous system encodes it. So in a new relationship, your mind says, I'm open, but your energy scans for leaving. You watch your partner with subtle defense. You collapse reality through suspicion. Soon enough, something validates your fear. Your ego says, I knew it. But what unfolded wasn't inevitable. It was selected unconsciously by the frequency of your gaze. This is emancipation, not blame. Once you see how you've been collapsing reality, you can stop being captive to it. Look at money. If each time you check your balance, your gut tightens and you say, never enough, you're not merely noting numbers, you're observing with a lack frequency. That observation becomes a magnet for timelines of scarcity. The field isn't punishing, it's responding to the tone of your attention. This is why people study manifestation, practice meditations, repeat affirmations, and still nothing shifts. Because the field doesn't answer words, it responds to your energetic baseline, the dominant vibration you hold when no one's watching. And that baseline is shaped by what you observe and how you observe it. Now the trap. The more you observe the same reality, the more solid it seems. The more solid, the more convinced you are it can't change. That's how loops form. Observation creates reality. Reality reinforces emotion. Emotion strengthens observation. And the cycle spins. So how do you break it? Not by resisting it, but by observing differently. Instead of scanning circumstances with frustration, cultivate awareness. Instead of reacting, witness. Instead of repeating, reframe. The shift isn't in the object of your gaze, it's in the frequency from which you look. This is the real work. Not changing life, but changing the lens. Ask new questions. Who is observing? Am I seeing from childhood or from my embodied self? Is my attention soaked in fear or anchored in possibility? You realize your exterior is the trailing edge of internal perception. People around you mirror your dominant signal. Your body reflects the observer inside. From here, timelines shift. The moment you stop choosing from past pain and begin observing from your future frequency, new doors open. Not because they weren't present before, but because your gaze matches them now. You are not failing to manifest. You're reliably collapsing a version of reality that fits your emotional blueprint. Now you wake up to the pattern. Your power multiplies because you no longer react. You consciously select what will be. You stop treating current results as ultimate truth and start observing from the frequency of what's becoming. The universe listens to every observation, not as judgment, but as resonance. If you're ready to stop manifesting the same life, stop seeing with the same eyes, change your gaze, clean the lens, and choose the version of you who observes with love, trust, and expansion. The quantum field is not personal, it's precise. When you shift the frequency of attention, you alter the structure of your world. There is a subtle moment in every awakening, the realization that changing reality doesn't begin with more doing. It begins with seeing, not trying harder, but seeing deeper. That means learning to perceive without your old stories, without judgment, without panic, with presence. How you see decides what appears right now. Your field, the energetic space around and within, is full of waves of potential, endless timelines, endless outcomes, waiting for your attention. But the field doesn't answer desperation. It opens to vibrational precision, emotional alignment, and the quiet strength of presence. That's where we start. Find a quiet place. You need little, your body, your breath, and the willingness to observe without armor. Sit. Let your spine lengthen gently as if remembering to rise without tension. Close your eyes, not to hide, but to shift inward where true observation happens. Place one hand on your heart, the other on your belly. This is your emotional center, your core. Breathe slowly in through the nose. Pause. Release softly through the mouth. Drop the shoulders. Soften the mind. Let the weight you've carried, the need to figure it out, melt into the floor. Now tune into the field. You might not see it, but your body knows it's real. This space is intelligent, responsive, alive, and listening. Bring to awareness a situation that feels stuck, a desire, a problem, something you can't seem to manifest. Don't force it. Let it surface. As it does, notice how you've been watching it. Not your actions, but the posture of your observation. Do you see it with frustration, fear, impatience, doubt? Feel the shape of your gaze. Now shift. Breathe and imagine observing that situation as if you're already on the other side, as if resolution is present, as if the version of you who moved through it watches with peace, love, and trust. Notice what changes in your body. Chest softens, mind eases. Your field responds because you are no longer observing with resistance. You are aligning. You're not collapsing the old version, you're selecting a new one. In that vibration, a different future becomes accessible because you changed how you look. Quantum terms aside, that changes everything. Hold that observation. Don't control it. Don't chase. Be the observer. Calm, present, certain. Let the field feel the shift. This is where creation begins, not from effort, but from frequency. Sigh, not from forcing, but from becoming the version of you who no longer needs to force, the version who already knows. Breathe deeply once more. As you exhale, open your eyes, not to return to the same world, but to re-enter as a new observer. Let this practice become your default. Pause, feel, reframe, observe through the lens of your next timeline, not your previous one. The greatest upgrade is the quality of your gaze. Comment below, I observe with new eyes. Let that declaration be your transmission to the field. Writing it encodes frequency. Your words carry tone. You are not merely a character in this life. You are the consciousness composing it, one observation at a time. So observe with wisdom, courage, and love, and let the world reshape accordingly. Most people don't see they're reacting more than creating. Their nervous systems are stuck predicting, defending, anticipating. Even when they claim they want change, their frequency remains anchored in old reactivity. Yet there's a subtle, powerful space where quantum shifts begin, where you stop reacting and begin witnessing. In that non-reactive presence, timelines bend. The field doesn't answer drama, it answers depth. Depth cannot grow while you chase, prove, defend, or fix. It emerges when you sit still enough to observe without interference. This isn't passivity, it's precision. React and you fuse with the trigger. You collapse into the past emotion and lose frequency. Your observation becomes survival-based, defensive, projected, urgent. Then you feed what you fight. But observe with steadiness, not indifference, but inner stability. And you create a gap. In that gap, the field recalibrates. Possibilities re-emerge. Energy reorganizes not by force, but by presence. Non-reactive awareness is uncommon. It requires unlearning, tolerating not knowing, and becoming emotionally fluent enough to feel without being consumed. It's the art of, I see this, I feel this, yet I don't have to become it. The more you sit in that stillness, the faster your field shifts, because you're not pushing. You let the field respond to your frequency, not your fear. When a hard conversation happens and you observe instead of defend, you hold a higher vibration. When money tightens and you witness rather than spiral, you anchor abundance. When plans fall apart and you breathe rather than panic, the field repositions you. This is not bypassing, it's mastery. Choose alignment over ego reflex. Remain anchored in your chosen reality, even when current reality tugs you back. The results often look like miracles, but they're not. They're what happens when the field finally has room to deliver what your frequency has been asking for all along. The power is not in what you fix, it's in what you allow. The shift isn't in what you chase, it's in what you witness with presence. When you stop collapsing into emotion and start collapsing into awareness, the field responds. It reorganizes to match your coherence. It stops echoing old loops and begins mirroring your elevated signal. That's when manifestation accelerates. Not because you forced it, but because you stepped aside. So next time you feel the urge to react, control, or explain, pause, breathe, notice the sensation, hold the gaze. Remember, stillness is not weakness. It's the birthplace of power. You've been told you're a creator, that thoughts become things, that energy attracts. All true, but only once you grasp the observer's role. You're not here to wish, you're here to see differently, to observe with intent, to design your reality, not by force, but by frequency. The truth, your outer world has always reflected your inner lens, not only beliefs, but your habitual mode of observing. What you stare at with agitation tends to freeze. What you observe with neutrality begins to shift. What you witness with compassion transforms. This is not magic, it's mechanics, quantum mechanics. The observer effect doesn't care about your aims, it responds to your gaze. The quality of that gaze, frantic or calm, fearful or faithful, reactive or sovereign, decides what crystallizes next. If you want change, stop chasing outcomes. Calibrate your observation. See yourself as the consciousness through which answers arrive. See pain as an invitation to perceive deeper. See delays and detours as refinements, not rejections. When you change how you look, the world rearranges around that new gaze. That's why timelines collapse when you're not forcing. Why manifestations quicken when you stop pushing. Why the right people and opportunities appear when you stop proving and start being. You become an architect the moment you choose how to see, not what to see. That repeated choice becomes your baseline frequency, the new timeline your body, mind, and field begin to trust. Trust matters. The field doesn't reward effort. It responds to coherence. Coherence springs naturally from observation rooted in truth, not panic. This is how you step into your next level, not by trying harder, but by being still enough to hear the signal. Be the observer life answers to, not the reactor life controls. If you want to go deeper, we made something for you. The ebook, Awaken Your Quantum Power, is more than a guide. It's a transmission, a vibrational bridge from where you are to the version who already lives in conscious harmony with the field. Inside are 7 transformative shifts that change how you observe, vibrate, and live. It's for those done performing, done waiting, done chasing. It's for those ready to observe like an architect and receive like a magnet. Links in the pinned comment. No pressure, just presence. If it resonates, it's meant for you. You didn't come to merely survive. You came to consciously collapse the reality your soul selected before you forgot. And now you remember. Now you observe.